We got some scary stories for you. Oops. It's so pretty. How's it going, everybody? I'm Metalhead and welcome to Fright Night Friday. Today we will be reading a scary story. Fright Night Friday is a new series I'm starting. Hopefully every Friday I'll be putting out a video that has to do with something scary, creepy. And today I thought it'd be fun to read a scary bedtime story. So be sure to turn your lights off, tuck yourself in, and grab a snack and be prepared to get scared with Reddit NoSleep. So I found a couple stories on NoSleep. The ones I got the most views, or the most upvotes. I don't know how many I'll read tonight, but we'll be reading one for sure, depending how long it is. If it's a short one, we'll read a second one. So are you guys ready? Hit those lights off and let's start the story. Tom's confession. I'd finished with my regular patients before I sat down with Tom. I wanted to make sure I had all the time I needed with him. He was a special case. I stared for a while, waiting for Tom to say the first words. It was a trick of mine. Never initiate conversation. Like a staring contest, first to break is the first to spill the beans. So, I suppose you want to know when it all started, Tom suggested. Please, I responded, pressing the record button on my dictaphone and picking up my notepad. I crossed my legs and waited. He was 12. Who was? I interjected. David. When he said the name, he grinned. David was 12 when I met him. He sighed as if recalling a fond memory. I stifled a grimace. Where did he meet him? In a forest. He was crying. When I asked him what was wrong, he didn't respond. That's when two taller boys approached. He bawled his eyes out when he saw them. He knew why they were there, and so did I. Tom looked up, clearly happy at the feeling the memory invoked. Did you walk to David? Yes, I did. I told him I could help, if he let me. I told him it was okay to cry. I told him to close his eyes, and then I whispered to him. What did you say? I knew he was being bullied. I said if he let me deal with them, they would go away, and he wouldn't have to put up with them ever again. I shivered. I knew what was coming next. I said, no matter what you hear, keep your eyes shut. When he heard the screams, he yelled out, pleading for me to stop, but I didn't. I was helping him. Tom shifted in his seat before letting out a small laugh. By the time he opened his eyes, the boys were nowhere to be seen. David was happy, even if he couldn't tell me. He stood there shivering. Then I told him we would be best friends forever. He nodded and let me hold his hand. I walked him back to his house. His mother was so upset when she saw his bruises on his hands and the cuts on his face. He told her that he was beaten up by kids from school. She hugged him. Tom closed his eyes in contentment. Her embrace was so warm. I hadn't felt something like that in a very long time indeed. I was glad David let me be his friend. What happened to the other boys? Jesus, you know what happened. We wouldn't be here if you didn't. All the same, I want to hear you say it. Tom sighed again, though I could tell he was enjoying himself. I buried them in the forest. They still haven't been found, have they? I glared at Tom and wished they had been, though I couldn't tell them that. When was the next time you helped David? He shook his head, clearly annoyed by the question. His dad was an asshole. He hit him all the time. I wanted to help. I really did, though David always said no. I lost count the number of times David would go to bed bruised and battered. He told his teachers he fell. I knew they didn't believe him, but what could they do? What could I do? When was it? I said, getting straight to the point. I don't know the date. You know that. I have no idea what time of year it is. Never mind the date. David had come home from school and his dad was drunk. He had been fired earlier in the day. He was going to take it on David. I was in his room with him when I told him. He pleaded with me to leave his dad alone. I tried. What happened, David? He was hit over the head with a goddamn golf club. I expected him to be knocked out, though he wasn't. He lay there on the floor, blood trickled from his head. That's when he asked me. I wish he'd asked sooner. David shut his eyes and I took care of his problem. What did you do? I pushed his father down the stairs. I was sure that wasn't going to be enough, but it was. His lifeless eyes glared up at me as his head hit the bottom stair. Tom shook his head, smiling. I didn't enjoy that enough. Didn't satisfy me, if you know what I mean. I totally understood what he meant. Was David happy? He never told me that, he said, eyeballing me. He never liked his father. Hated him, in fact. His grades improved, though. For the first time in his life, he became a straight A student. So to answer your question, I am certain he was happy. Were there any other incidents? He shook his head. No. And why do you think that is? He smirked again. I think he felt like he didn't need me anymore. Maybe he was scared of me. Only one person can tell me that, right? Do you still want to help him? Depends what you mean by help. Do I want to ask me to hurt more people? Yes, of course I do. It's who I am. It's my purpose. Why don't you just leave him alone? And why would I do that? Because he doesn't want you here anymore, I told Tom. You know as well as I do, that isn't the case. I don't. I really don't. Tom, please leave me alone, I demanded. He didn't say anything. Tom. My shoulders hung. I felt I was so close this time. I've been a psychiatrist for 30 years now. I've helped God knows how many people. No matter how many times I try, I cannot help myself. I've stared in the mirror for 45 minutes now. Tom hasn't said a word. I'm not even sure he's still there. I wish I never asked him for help. I completed my notes and looked back up. He was gone. Only my tired and somber face gazed back at me. Fuck. I try again tomorrow, like I did yesterday and the day before that. I needed him gone. Annoyed, I got up from my chair, pissed at myself I'd failed again. I blew out the candles and kicked the salt circle, banishing the incantation. I glared into the mirror one last time. Fuck off, Tom, I shouted, all my pent-up rage exploding at once. The door to my office opened. Is everything okay? My secretary asked. I'm fine, I replied, adjusting my tie. Her eyes darted around the room, seeing the candles that now smoked, filling the air with that familiar, sooty smell. She managed a forced smile leaving the room. The mirror caught my attention. Tom smirked back at me. I'm not leaving you, David. Oh, that was interesting. That was a cool little twist on the story. Dealing with, I think, split personality disorder, possibly. I'm gathering that's what that was. I like that twist. That was a really good one. So that one was called Tom Confession. That was really good. What do you guys think of that one? Let me know. Alright guys, I found another one. This one is pretty new. That just came out a couple hours ago. It's called My Wife and I Die Daily. Well, that just doesn't sound the pleasantest, does it? I'm lying in bed next to someone who I'll call my wife. But tomorrow, I know there will be someone different waking up next to me. My current wife will be dead by tomorrow afternoon, and I will end the evening dying in a fiery car crash. I know this to be true because it has happened to me 112 days in a row. The markings on the bed frame prove it. The best way to describe the first 25 years of my life is a mixed bag. I would like to say I lived a normal and uneventful life, but there were always bizarre accidents that seemed to change the course of my life. Events that, reflecting on now, were precursors to me being trapped where I am today. It feels surreal writing this, but I have no idea on where else I can turn. I will start from the beginning. I have plenty of time. My wife won't wake up for another 2 hours, and I have an unlimited amount of days to continue my story. If you're a fan of the movie Groundhog Day, or the film franchise Final Destination, my story is similar to both of those. Well, I enjoy both those movies. My wife Cassie and I died 112 days ago on vacation. We have been together since freshman year of college, but I met her when I was 6. We grew up together and didn't really spend any time apart until high school. In high school, we both started dating other people and not each other because we didn't want to mess up our friendship. I was dating a girl named Katie, a tall brunette with deep chocolate eyes and a single dimple in her right cheek that was absolutely perfect. She was a very sweet girl, and we got along super well and had a lot of common interests. Cassie was dating a jerk named Mark. That was super abusive. Mark and I were always getting into heated arguments. I had finally convinced Cassie to dump Mark, but she thought that meant I was going to break up with Katie. I really liked Katie and had no intention of breaking up with her. Therefore, Cassie and I had a short falling out between the start of junior year and halfway point of my senior year. During my senior year, Katie and I were still doing very well together. We hadn't even had a fight. We were going to start attending university together after graduation, but tragedy struck Katie and her family. Katie's father was killed in a car accident. Katie's father was driving back from his medical practice. He was a psychiatrist. And he was forced off the road by an old school red Ford truck. The police said he hit a tree head on and died instantly. The driver ended up being Mark, Cassie's ex. Interesting. He was drunk driving at the ripe age of 18. He lost his license and was sent to prison. Katie wasn't the same after, and I don't blame her. She and I split up halfway through our senior year and decided to attend different colleges. I slowly became closer to Cassie again, and the night of graduation I found Cassie and asked her if she wanted to try dating. She said yes, and I was excited beyond belief. We dated all through college and got engaged and married after graduation. We have been married 4 years now, and things have been going great until our accident. Every summer we went out west. This time we were staying at a small bed and breakfast in the mountains. We decided to just take a long drive around the mountain in the early afternoon when the incident happened. There was a bend in the road, and we were driving on the outer half of it. There was a blind spot around the bend. We were about to make the turn when, seemingly out of nowhere, a red Ford truck appeared in the center of the road, forcing us against the guardrail. He hit the guardrail and scraped the side of it, avoiding the truck. Sparks shot up off the car, and screeches of metal against metal shook the car. The guardrail gave way. It all happened so fast. We went over the edge, off the mountainside, and down the hill into a forest ravine. The car flipped end over end, and we hit a tree head on. I looked over at Cassie, and I immediately knew she was dead. She had a tree branch through her trachea. I sobbed and I screamed, trying to get to her by my leg, but my legs were pinned at the front of the car. It was caved in. I smelled gas and there was smoke coming from the destroyed engine. I grabbed a shard of glass from the windshield and started to saw my pant leg, trying to escape the wreckage. My pant legs ripped and blood started to soak into my jeans as I tried to tear the fabric away, hoping that it would help me free my legs. Despite my best efforts, I was trapped. I resigned myself to our fate as I looked over at my wife one last time. However, I didn't see her face. Where her face should be was a blurred image like the kind you see on TV as a kid when they didn't want to show inappropriate content. I thought I was going crazy and I started clawing at my eyes, rubbing them in order to see Cassie one last time. The car caught fire and I sat there screaming for help. I was instantly consumed by the flames. And then I woke up in the room at the bed and breakfast Cassie and I were staying at. I prayed this was all a bad dream. I rolled over to see if Cassie was next to me. She wasn't. There was a woman I had never seen before in bed next to me. This woman had short blonde hair and was laying perfectly still and flat like you see in a mattress commercial. Despite being in a bed with a random stranger, that had to be the creepiest part. It was like she was a doll. I jumped out of bed and ran out of the room. I went to call Cassie, but I couldn't find her number in my phone. Odd. But I had been having issues with my contacts on my phone lately because it was a work phone that constantly forced updates. I tried to dial her number, but memory and heard an active number message. I tried a couple more times in case I punched in the wrong number. No luck. I opened Facebook, hoping to message her. I noticed my profile picture was different than it was before. I enlarged it and saw myself at my wedding getting married to a woman I had never seen before. It was the woman that is sleeping in my bed. I thought this was some sick joke, but when I tried to think of Cassie, my mind kept going blank. I checked all of my social media accounts, and I was married to this woman in all of them. I couldn't find a single piece of evidence that Cassie ever existed. I opened my wallet, hoping to find a photo of me with Cassie, but again, it was a photo of me and this strange woman. I put my back against the wall outside the room and slid down until my butt hit the floor. I put my head in my hands and cried. I had every memory of my entire life left, including all the ones with Cassie, but I couldn't remember what she looked like. My head felt like it was filled with cement anytime I tried to think of what she looked like. The room door opened, room 502, and out walked the mysterious woman. She asked if I wanted to go for a drive. Super flustered, I asked what was happening, and she just smiled and motioned for me to follow. She led me down to the car, which I thought I had totaled, and she jumped in the passenger seat. The entire drive and accident repeated itself. We were making a bend when around the corner a red Ford truck was driving in the center of the road, forcing us against the guardrail. We hit the guardrail and scraped the side of it, avoiding the truck, and the guardrail gave way. Went over the edge of the mountains and down the hill into the forest ravine. The car flipped end over end over end, and we hit a tree head on. I waited for the car to catch fire. It eventually did, and again I was consumed by the flames. I then woke up in the room at the bed and breakfast. Looked to my right, and there was another strange woman there. This woman had long reddish brown hair that was extremely curly. I got out of bed and sat in the chair that was in the corner of the room. I checked all of my social media. All of my photos were the same as yesterday, but with one glaring difference. The blonde-haired woman from yesterday was replaced by the redhead from today. I shivered. The dates were advancing, but my day had repeated itself twice already, and I still didn't know what would happen to Cassie. My day then repeats itself again. I went for a drive with a stranger, and I died once again in a fire. I then woke up to another strange woman in my bed. I marked the bed with my car keys the day before, and the mark was still there. I decided to add 2 more tallies. I've added 109 tallies since then. The day never changes. It is always a red Ford truck. Each day is exactly the same. I wake up, check social media, see a different woman with me in my profile picture. The new woman enters the room, and then we get in a car accident. I know it might sound crazy, but I have such vivid memories of every single day. I can remember what each woman looked like except my actual wife, Cassie. The days are still advancing as Cassie and I were on this vacation in May. I have started talking to the strange woman, and each one is unique in their own way. There are no similarities between them and Cassie. However, every single woman had one thing in common. No matter how many times I've asked the question, I always get the same response. The woman always smile and show a perfect dimple in the right cheek. Then they reply, Katie. Huh. Well, that was pretty interesting story. Not so much creepy, scary, but it was pretty interesting. I wonder because he got stuck in the time loop. I wonder if he was supposed to be with Katie, help her through her dad's death. Because he married Cassie, he couldn't. Maybe that's why he got stuck in the time loop over and over again. But I mean, waking up every day with a different woman in your bed, but you die in a fiery car crash after. That's a tough one. That's a tough one, not gonna lie. It was pretty fun reading these stories for you guys. Hopefully I did a good job. Enunciation, everything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you guys get notified for any future videos that are coming out. Next Friday, not sure what's going to happen, but there will be another Fright Night Friday. We're going to keep this series going because I had fun doing this. Will it be another bedtime story? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoy the video. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.